3 minutes into my future dream job interview, my future boss looked me dead in the eyes and asked if I was planning to get pregnant in the next 2 years. And that wasn't even the worst question she asked me. By the time I walked out of that building, I had recorded everything. What happened next got her fired and cost that company over $200,000. I had been job hunting for almost 4 months when I finally got the call. Meridian Analytics, a mid-sized data consulting firm, wanted to interview me for a Senior Data Analyst position. The salary was 20% higher than my current role, the benefits were incredible, and they had a reputation for promoting from within. On paper, it was perfect. I spent 2 weeks preparing. I researched their client base, memorized their recent case studies, practiced behavioral interview questions until my roommate begged me to stop. I bought a new blazer, I got my hair done. I was ready. The morning of the interview, I arrived 15 minutes early. The building was sleek and modern, all glass walls and minimalist furniture. The receptionist was friendly and offered me coffee while I waited. I remember thinking this place felt right. It felt like somewhere I could build a career. Then I met Diana. Diana Mercer was the director of analytics and would be my direct supervisor if I got the job. She was in her early 50s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her handshake was firm, her smile was thin, and her eyes scanned me up and down like she was appraising livestock. She led me to her corner office and gestured to a chair across from her desk. No small talk, no pleasantries. She just opened a folder with my resume and started. "So, you're 28, she said, not looking up. Not a question, a statement. "Yes," I replied, already feeling a subtle shift in the room. She nodded slowly, tapping her pen against the desk. "Married?" "I'm sorry? Are you married?" She looked at me now, eyebrows raised like I was the one being strange. I'm not sure how that's relevant to the position," I said carefully. Diana smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "It's relevant because I need to know if you're going to be reliable. I've hired young women before who promised they were committed, and 6 months later they're asking for maternity leave. I can't afford that in this department." My stomach dropped. I knew these questions were illegal. I knew she wasn't supposed to ask them, but I was also sitting in front of my dream job, and my brain was screaming at me to just play along, get through it, deal with the red flags later. "I'm engaged," I said quietly, "but I'm very committed to my career." "Engaged." She wrote something down. "Wedding date? Next fall. And children. Are you planning to have children?" There it was, the question that made my blood run cold. She asked it so casually, like she was asking about my commute time or my software proficiency. "I don't have any immediate plans," I managed. Diana leaned forward. "Let me be more specific. Are you planning to get pregnant in the next 2 years? Because this role requires someone who can be fully present. I'm not interested in training someone just to watch them disappear into motherhood." My face flushed. My hands were shaking slightly under the desk. This wasn't just a red flag. This was a 5-alarm fire. Every instinct told me to stand up and walk out. But something else kicked in, something that wanted her to keep talking. I pulled my phone from my bag and set it on my lap, screen down, and pressed record. "I understand your concern," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Can you tell me more about what kind of commitment you're looking for?" Diana seemed pleased that I wasn't pushing back. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "I need someone who isn't going to let their personal life interfere with their work. My last analyst, sweet girl, but she got pregnant 8 months in, wanted to work from home, wanted flexible hours. I told HR we needed to let her go during her probationary period. Found a reason. These things are easy to manage if you're smart about it." She was openly admitting to firing someone for being pregnant on my recording. "That sounds difficult," I said, my heart pounding. It was, and I won't make the same mistake twice. She looked at my left hand. "That's a nice ring. Your fiancé, does he want children right away?" "He's supportive of whatever I decide." "Good. Keep it that way." She made another note. "Now, one more thing before we continue. I noticed on your resume you took a 3-month gap 2 years ago. What was that about?" "I was caring for my mother. She had surgery and needed help during recovery." Her face soured. "Family, medical issues, that's always a concern. Do you have other elderly relatives you might need to care for? Parents, grandparents?" "My mother is fully recovered now." "That's not what I asked." I stared at her. She was systematically trying to determine if I had any caregiving responsibilities that might make me less available to work. Family, children, aging parents. She wanted to know it all. Okay, I have to stop here for a second because my hands were literally shaking under that desk. Let me ask you something. Would you have kept sitting there? Subscribe if you think I did the right thing by staying and recording everything. Or tell me in the comments, would you have walked out the second she asked about pregnancy? Because what she said next made everything so much worse. Keep watching. Diana wasn't done. She flipped to another page in her folder and frowned. Your current salary, you listed it as $72,000. Is that accurate? Yes. And you're expecting what? A significant increase to come here? The posting listed the range as $85,000 to $95,000, I said. Ranges are flexible. We typically start women on the lower end. They negotiate less aggressively, and frankly, they leave more often. If you prove yourself over 2 or 3 years, we can revisit. She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was just business, like openly admitting to paying women less was completely normal. I see, I said, forcing myself to nod. Now, let's talk about hours. This isn't a 9-to-5 role. I expect my team to be available evenings, weekends if needed. Your fiancé, is he the type who's going to complain if you're not home for dinner? He understands demanding careers. Good, because I've had employees whose husbands called here, complained about the hours. It's embarrassing for everyone. The interview continued for another 20 minutes. She asked about my health, whether I had any chronic conditions. She asked if I lived with roommates or alone, citing concerns about noise during remote meetings. She asked what religion I practiced because, and I quote, some religious employees request too many holidays off. Every question was worse than the last. Every answer I gave felt like swallowing glass, but I kept my composure. I kept recording. When it was finally over, Diana stood and shook my hand. You seem like a good fit, she said. We'll be in touch within the week, assuming everything checks out. I thanked her. I walked to my car, and then I sat in the parking lot and cried. That night, I called my best friend, who happened to be an employment attorney. I played her the recording. She was silent for a long time. This is one of the most egregious interviews I've ever heard, she finally said. Every single one of those questions violates federal employment law. The pregnancy question alone is textbook Title VII discrimination, and her admission about firing the previous analyst, that's evidence of discriminatory termination. She told me I had options. I could file a complaint with the EEOC, I could pursue a civil lawsuit, but first she wanted to do some digging. Within a week, she had found 3 other women who'd interviewed with Diana and been asked similar questions. 2 of them had been hired and later terminated under suspicious circumstances. One had been let go 2 weeks after announcing her pregnancy. Another had been fired for performance issues that mysteriously appeared right after she requested time off to care for her sick father. We filed a formal complaint with the EEOC. We also filed a civil suit against Meridian Analytics and Diana Mercer personally for discriminatory hiring practices. The company's response was immediate and predictable. They denied everything. They claimed Diana was a valued employee with an impeccable record. They called my recording inadmissible and accused me of entrapment. But here's the thing about workplace discrimination. Once you start looking, you find patterns. Other employees came forward. Internal emails were subpoenaed. It turned out Diana had sent messages to HR explicitly stating she didn't want any women of childbearing age in her department. She had written, and I quote, "Hire the older ones or the ones who are already done having kids." The case took 8 months. In the end, Meridian Analytics settled for $215,000, split among the 5 plaintiffs. Diana Mercer was terminated and barred from holding any supervisory position in the company's industry network. I never got that job, but I got something better. I got justice, and I got to watch a woman who had spent years quietly discriminating against other women finally face consequences. My friend who helped me with the case says she uses my recording in training sessions now. She plays it for HR departments to show them exactly what not to do. Diana Mercer is basically a cautionary tale. As for me, I found a different job 3 months later. Better company, better boss. And during my interview, you know what they asked me? They asked about my skills. They asked about my experience. They asked what kind of projects excited me. Not a single question about my uterus. That's how it should be. That's how it always should have been. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If this story made you want to scream into a pillow, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another workplace horror story. Drop a like if you think Diana got exactly what she deserved. And if you have your own nightmare interview story, I want to hear it. Submit it through the link in the comments or in my bio. Your story could be the next one I tell. Until next time, trust your gut. If the red flags start flying in the first 5 minutes, run.